Welcome back, YouTube blade lovers. This old sword here again, bringing you one of my favorite all-time folders. Bestech Roxi 4. Designed by Todd Knife Tool, executed, manufactured by WE. And as you know, WE knives are really a great high-end production knife. Some would call it mid-tech. I'm calling it a high-end production knife. Obviously, it is a Wharncliff design. For comparison, right away, I just want to bring out another favorite Wharncliff, the Yojimbo 2. You can see very similar blade shape. Also like to bring out another favorite Todd Knife Tool design, the Malware by Bestech. We're going to be concentrating on the Roxi 4 today, however, but you can see how the Malware is a very exaggerated version of the Roxi 4 in a more severe Wharncliff, almost a non-Wharncliff, but I'd call it a Wharncliff nonetheless. We may take a look at these again later in the review. For now, let's put them aside. By the way, I did a review on the Malware alongside the Shodan not too long ago, both Bestech knives. But here we have the Roxi 4. Let's do a few measurements before we get too far along. If I can locate my tape. So, tip to tail, we have a large knife coming in almost exactly at 9 inches. We have a blade of slightly less from the tip of 4 inches, maybe 3 7/8. We have a shorter cutting edge of 3 and a little less than 3/4. We could call it, I'm not going to get into the fractions here, but slightly less than 3 3/4. It's not 3 5/8. It's a little more than that. We have a blade thickness in millimeters. I think it's going to be about 4. Yep, right on the nose. We have a handle width or thickness in inches of 0.49. Yeah, 0.49. Didn't quite make 0.50, so they kept it under a ½ inch. What else do we want to measure today? Well, we'll take a look at it first. We have a stone-washed finish S35VN blade, titanium handle with some nice appointments on it. We have WE's logo, which is always interesting. We have the Todd Knife Tool signature 3 holes going straight through both sides of the handle. We have kind of a brass finished pivot. We have a brass finished hardened steel insert screw. We have kind of a stone-washed brass sort of finish on the clip. And this is the signature Todd Knife Tool clip, by the way. You can see it on the Malware as well. A little larger on the Roxi. For weight, we have 4.97 ounces. Didn't quite make it to 5, did it? Well, that's a good thing. Do we have any weight relieving in the knife? None that I see. We have flats inside. Of course, titanium's a lighter material. We have a full back strap with, again, a sort of a stone finished, stone washed brass, kind of a gray and brass mix to match the clip. We have an interesting arrangement. If you listen to Zelrick's review on this knife, of course it's one that Zelrick is half of the Todd Knife Tool company, the two brothers, I believe. We have this little kind of splash pan landing area, he calls it, for your thumb. So when you open this knife, your finger ends up in that little depression, that little divot there. Kind of gives you a positive feeling that you've finished opening the knife, I guess. We have some useful jimping here. The shoulders, the cuts on this jimping really work. This fuller that goes along the hole in the blade, and let's see how useful that hole is. Oh yeah, you can open her that way, and if you're talented enough, I barely am, you can use a Spidey flick. I KME'd the edge. I got this knife secondhand and it was in good shape from a well-known YouTuber. I won't say who, but got a good deal on it. It was an outright purchase. And this mirrored edge should be pretty sharp, so really can't attest to how the factory edge is since the factory edge is gone, but I can tell you my edge is damn sharp, which is how I like them. So let's take a little closer look around. Again, nice stone wash. Definitely a usable choil area here for choking up. You see this on a lot of the Todd Knife Tool designs. As Zelrick says, a lot of people complain about the fact that you don't have a sharpening choil. You can see you can't get quite in there to the very edge of the blade, but you know, you've got a lot of useful edge there, and you can bring it right up awfully close. But it's nice to have a useful choke up point on a blade that could be a working blade, could be EDC, could be a defensive tool, could be something you use in martial blade arts, kind of up to you. It's a beautiful and handsome knife. Oh yeah, lots of room for a lanyard, should you choose to use a lanyard. The pocket clip is not necessarily deep carry. You got about 3/4 of an inch sticking out, but you do have something to hang on to here. And this little divot here, this little cut, is actually a place you can grab with your thumb when you're pulling that out of your pocket. It is not a reversible clip. They'd have to give you a whole different mirror image clip to put on the other side just because of the way that it's asymmetrical. We have good lockup of, I would say 30 to 40%, which is fine. We have a flipper placement with nice jimping, works very well. And as Zelrick has said in his review, they go out of their way to place this ahead of the pivot. The further ahead of the pivot your flipper tab is, the smaller it can be and still be extremely effective. So while the detent on this knife isn't that strong, it'll still hold it in place. Not going to open accidentally in most circumstances anyway, but very easy to open with a flip. All right, so as I was about to do, let's do some comparisons. Here we have the Rat 1, shorter blade, slightly shorter handle. Here we have the Griptilian, significantly shorter in both the handle and the blade. And lastly, we have the Freak, Benchmade Freak, a full-size knife in its own right, but it is shorter than the Roxi 4. And as a final comparison, again, let's look at it alongside some other favorite Wharncliffs. Love the way the Yojimbo 2 opens. Not quite in the market yet for a Yojimbo, but it's a possibility. This is a much smaller knife overall. And the malware. All three great knives as far as Wharncliffs go. I love them. Thing is, many Wharncliffs don't have a lot of meat near the tip of the blade. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Yojimbo is, people have complained because it is not got a lot of meat out at the point, and it can be delicate. However, looking at the Roxi 4, let's see if we can get a focus here. Got what appears to be just a little more meat out near the tip. Still, you don't want to drop it straight down on the floor, as we know some people have admitted to doing. We won't say who. But the thing, too, about the Wharncliff as, let's say, a combative sort of a blade, is that, as Michael Janich has described in his design of the Yojimbo, you have a condition where that tip is not set back like a knife where we have a drop point. We have an edge that is in line there, but you'll see that the point pretty much is in line with the rest of the edge. So as this arcs down, the point leads, doesn't trail away. So the point enters in as effective cutting on cuts as well as on thrusts. And we've got plenty of relief here to make this an effective point. So without getting further into those details, that's kind of the advantage of the Wharncliff. And as Zelric likes to say too, if you really look at this, and I don't know if there's a way to show you, if you really look at this, see if I can line it up here, it actually is not a straight edge. There's a little bit of curve there. See that? And he mentions that with all of his straight edge knives, there's a Roxi 4, I forget all the numbers, but there are shorter versions of this. This is the largest Wharncliff that was designed by Todd Knife Tool and made by the WE Knife Company. So yeah, by the way, the malware, if I didn't say so, is a Bestech knife. And obviously the Yojimbo is a Spyderco. These Yojimbo scales are, I believe the company is Allen Putnam. Makes some nice sculpted scales for that knife. All right, folks, that is the review on the WE Roxi 4, one of my favorite all-time Wharncliffs. And this will be staying in the collection, I believe, for a long time. Hope you like this and enjoy. Please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. This Old Sword signing out, and we will catch you soon.